Hi everybody and welcome to another video with Miss Neely. Today we're going to be baking cake pops. So with the cake pops, I'm going to be making it with box cake and frosting. You can make it with a homemade recipe, it's just faster and easier with the box. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to make the cake because all you have to do is follow the directions on the back of the box. As you can see, I'm doing red velvet and the frosting I'm using is cream cheese frosting. The other tools you're going to need are candy melts to dip the cake pops in, cake pop sticks. Those two items you can find in the party aisle at Walmart. And then an optional item is sprinkles. You can also have a jar of sprinkles to dip your cake pops in, but it's totally optional. So I'm going to be making this cake, and when we come back, I'll show you how to use that cake to create your cake pops.
Alright guys, we're back. The cake cooled down and then I took it out of the pan and started crumbling up in the bowl. Okay, so you want to crumble it up until it looks like there's no big pieces left, or as few as possible. Okay, make sure you scoop all the way down at the bottom. And notice it's best to use your hands for that. Easiest way to do it. Then what you're going to do is take your frosting, and you're going to start with small amounts at a time. Do not start putting like the whole thing in there, because then there's going to be too much frosting and not enough cake, and the consistency is not going to be right. And a tip I found online when making cake pops is that you want to make sure you add a little bit of time and then use your hands to kind of feel the texture of it. The texture you want to feel is that there's enough frosting in there that they're sticking together to make little balls, but that's about it. You don't want any more than that. So you can start using your fingers to really mush that frosting in there. It's gonna get really, really sticky, as you can see. So make sure you definitely wash your hands too, nice and good, so that your hands are clean when you're doing this. Scoop a little bit more of that frosting in here. And I'm actually going to use the spoon a little bit to mash it in some so it's not sticking too much to my fingers here. Keep mixing it till it's all thoroughly mixed, because if you look closely in mine, you can still see bits of white, which means you can still kind of see the frosting and it's not really fully mixed into all the cake. Okay. Alright. Like I said, you should only need enough frosting that you're going to start balling these guys up. So now I'm going to, now that I have a little less than half of that frosting mixed in, I'm going to try to see if I can make a ball with one of these, and if not, I'll add more frosting. Okay. Okay. Almost there. I'm going to add just a little bit more frosting here, not a lot, just a little bit more. Now that that's all mixed up, I'm going to pause the video for now, and we're going to come back and we're going to start balling them up. I'm going to go melt the candy melts. So what you're going to want to do with the candy melts is you just want a small handful of those candy melts in a bowl and go warm them up in the microwave so that they melt. And you're going to use that just to dip the sticks in. You're not covering the balls yet, so you don't want to melt all the candy melt. Just enough to dip the tips of the sticks in for the cake pops. Alright, so I'm going to go melt those really quick and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back. I did make some of these into our little balls here, as you can see. You're going to take your stick and you're going to put a little bit of that chocolate that you just melted, the candy melt, in the microwave on it. And you're going to stick it into one of the balls. Okay, just like that. And you're going to do that for all of them. And when you're done, you're going to take your plate of cake pops and you're going to put it in the freezer for 20 minutes. When it's done in 20 minutes, you're going to pull it out. We're going to melt the rest of the candy melts, the rest of these candy melts here. And then we are going to dip these directly in there so then the whole thing is covered, and that's when you'll add your sprinkles if you want, okay? So, just to repeat, you're going to make your balls just like you have here. You're going to take your stick, you're going to dip it into the candy melt, you're going to stick it into your cake pop, and then stick all of your cake pops in the freezer for 20 minutes to harden. And then you're going to melt the rest of the candy melts and dip your cake pops in there. Okay, so we'll come back after that's all done. All right, guys, so our cake pops are in the freezer. They're almost done. Before I pull them out, I kind of wanted to go over what you're going to be doing here in a minute. So when you pull your cake pops out of the freezer, you're going to have more of like a cup full of the candies that you're going to melt. The reason why is when you dip it in, you want to completely cover it. So if you are doing it in a bowl, it might not be deep enough. It's better to do it in a cup. And then I put my sprinkles in a cup so it's easier once I dip it in the chocolate that melts, then I can dip it in the sprinkles. And then I'm going to use a cup for it to sit in and harden. Okay, so in just a minute we'll be back. I'll have these melted and our cake pops will be ready to dip. All right, guys, now we're ready for our final steps. So what you're going to do now is take one of your cake pops. You're going to dip it all the way until it's covered. And pull it out gently because you don't want to pull that stick out. Okay. And then if you want those sprinkles, or if you have those sprinkles you're going to add those sprinkles. And then you're going to flip it over and stick it in the cup to dry. Okay. So it's going to sit in there. It's going to probably make a mess. You might want to lay out some paper towels. And then let it harden. And then you will have your cake pops ready to eat. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and I'll see you next time.